And here we are, live again on a Tuesday terrain night. I am your host, Cav Boss. Welcome to those that are here and those that are to come, we hope. Hopefully, everybody can hear me okay. Well, while we're waiting on everybody to show up, I'm going to working on desert terrain that I'm working on for hopefully convention season next year, and to for our photo shoot for our Flashpoint. So pretty much going forward, that's what we're going to be working on. Different things for different parts of it. Right now, we're still kind of getting all the hill pieces and the terrain together. We're going to go over some other things tonight that I'm going to work towards to get done, and we'll kind of go from there. So hopefully you will all enjoy the ride. We have lots of people showing up tonight so that we can have a spirited conversation. I talk to myself all the time, so it's that fun of a deal for me to do it anymore. Do all the time. Do a lot of talking to myself out loud, thinking through problems and what. As always, feels free to ask questions about anything, whether it's terrain or cav or what's the weather like in Kansas. I will do my best to try to answer those questions as truthfully as possible. As I state over and over, successful conversation requires two sides. So if you're not talking and asking questions, then you're just going to listen to me babble or sing, which is even worse. Do not want me to start. But as I stated earlier, I'm working on the desert setup that I've been doing things for. Getting ready for convention season. Hopefully next year that we'll actually have conventions again to go to. This will be our traveling board for 2021. So, what makes Cav the best Met game to play? Well, I can't say that Cav is the best Met game to play because I don't know what kind of game you like to play. Why I play Cav is because I think it has I like a more hard sci-fi feel to it. Um, it's has aliens in it, so it kind of presents some different aspects that you don't see in some of the other games. And the game flows well. It is truly a combined arms type of game, and to me that a lot of the other Met games have tanks and infantry or planes or whatnot, but it all centers around the Cavs, and I understand, or under your mix, and I understand that. I mean, that's you're there to play a Met game, but I think for it to be enjoyable, I think you need to have other aspects into it, and I think that Cav handles that much better because everything works from the same design philosophy. We don't have a different system for vehicles. We don't have a different system for infantry. Everything works within the system, the one system. So, is it the easiest game to play? No. Is it the hardest game to play? No. But it is very intuitive once you play it enough to kind of get used to it. I know some people look at the list of essays and go, "Oh my God, there's all these essays," but you got to remember that the vast majority of those, you don't use them all in one game. I mean, 5, 6, 7 of them, and especially after you played for a little bit and you've got a force that you like playing or whatever, you get used to what you need to know, and it becomes very, second nature for you. And a lot of the essays are very common across the board. So a lot of times, it's everybody's using them for that particular thing. So, but so that's my why I say Cav is the best. Obviously, I'm somewhat biased, but again, the game is designed not to be a cookie cutter game. You know, this Cav isn't just another Cav with more armor but the same weapons or whatever, or all the weapons have different things that they do. They're not just a roll dice and it does 5 points of damage. That's not how weapons work in Cav. So there's you want to try to stack things, you want to try to help each other, you want to support each other, and that's really how you're going to do play a game and make it different so that it's not the same thing over and over. You can take only can take a lance so many times of the same 4 mechs and go out and play, and it's just the same thing over and over and over. And the only thing that differentiates, so this guy's got 3 medium lasers, this guy's got 4 medium lasers, and with the special abilities in Cav, this recon Cavs are really recon. Fire support's really fire support. So hopefully that answers that question. Well, you probably, if you played a long time ago, then you probably played the first edition Cav, especially if it was a rule book, because they didn't do any kind of rule book for Cav 2. Which Cav 1 is the original Cav I worked on. I didn't work on anything with Cav 2. So if you played Cav 1, a lot of the you'll find a lot of things very familiar to you. We've changed some things around a little bit, as opposed to you're not necessarily rolling against another player now. You have a base number that you roll against. The speed play up a little bit. We added some things and added the essays and stuff. So, but you'll find a lot of the things are very familiar if you played the first Cav. And don't get me wrong, I love BattleTech. I'm not real wild about the version it is today, but I played BattleTech hardcore for a long time. Heavy Gear, I love Heavy Gear. I love the immersive part of the story and the background behind it and stuff like that. But and it has a lot more of the variety that I like about a game, as opposed to BattleTech, a 20-ton mech with a medium laser is the same thing as a 100-ton mech with a medium laser. Just one has more armor. And I had a good friend describe to me, and I never really thought about it with BattleTech, is a game of sandpaper. You just slowly grind down the outside, and then all of a sudden everything's gone. And it just takes too long to play. But by the same token, I didn't want something so simple that it didn't have any meat to it anymore. And I think that that's really what Cav does well. If you're joining us late, I am still working on the desert terrain setup. This is going to be the hopefully the convention, the traveling board for next year as we go from show to show. It's all going to also serve as a background for some photography that we're going to do for the Flashpoint that we're finishing up. Yeah, I know you've heard that over and over and over, but we're getting there. So this is what I'm going to be working on over the next few weeks. I'll be doing as much of it as I can on the show. There'll be a lot of stuff happening in between. The flashpoints are going to be, is what we use to advance the storyline in the game. The first one is really more Terran and Rock orientated. It's kind of technical readout, background book, scenario book, all kind of rolled in together. It's going to be a downloadable PDF. We're not going to charge you for this one. And we'll add to it as we go along. We'll start introducing additional scenarios that you will play. And we'll have a system in place where you can report the results of your game. So after we release a certain scenario, we'll let people play it and submit things for a month or whatever. And depending on how those turn out, we'll actually apply those results to the universe going forward. So you as the fan base will actually have input to a degree on how the game progresses. So it started out as one thing, and it has grown and grown into a bigger and bigger thing. So it's not nearly as far ahead, but it is almost finally finished up. First one. I would have thought being stuck more in the office and the house with COVID and everything that I would have got more writing done, but it just didn't work out that way. And I guess I'm just too picky of a writer or editor or whatever. I haven't found anybody that really writes the way I want them to write. Every time I try with a new writer, I get, Star Wars version 3 or Star Trek version 55 or Battlestar Galactica, the New Age. And it's hard to find good, hard sci-fi guys. Well, and it really is. I mean, I know probably some people think it's corny or whatever, but I'm a gamer before I'm a game owner. There's lots of things that I like to do, and I'm not just stuck with playing Cav or anything. So I don't want to do anything with the game. We'll never do anything to the game that I don't think advances the game. I mean, if it's not something that I'd want to play or do or whatever, you're never going to see it happen, because that's just not it. Because lo and behold, at the end of the day, I want everybody to have fun. I want everybody to enjoy the story. I want everybody to enjoy the universe as we move it ahead. And being a small company, and I guess having that primarily in the deal, sometimes that hurts us. We don't get things moved ahead as fast as we want. But I think that we're getting there. There's lots of things coming. COVID obviously has screwed some of that up and put it off till next year, just because we couldn't really get out and support some things that we were wanting to do. But as we get back into the convention season next year, and now we know a little more what to expect, I think everybody will be happy with what we're doing. And I don't know if you've seen any of the announcements about our new dual cast. We're bringing all of our miniature production in-house, not just the metal. And this new stuff is kind of it's a plasticized resin. And I think everybody will be very, very pleased with the product. I've always been happy with the minis that we've done. I'm not real wild about the first Chuseki, but it is what it is. But the rest of them, you know, for what it costs you to get in and play and stuff like that, there's trade-offs. You know, I can make the most perfect mini in the world that nobody will find anything wrong with, other than it's going to cost you $60. So, you know, I think for $5 and $6 minis, what we've released, especially in first and second Kickstarter, I think are for a gaming piece is very playable and usable. I think Kickstarter 3, we took a big jump, and I think that with the new dual cast, once we have that in house, I think it's going to be another big step forward for us. Now, one of the things I'm doing here, working on this Desert Terrain, is some of this was older stuff. It's, well, yes and no. It's not brittle. So you'll still, of course, I left some of them. I left the ones I've got downstairs. You can drop them. You can throw them. And so far, I haven't been able to break one doing that. Where it will break is if you take a gun barrel and bend it around and try to touch the back side of it. It's at some point it's going to hit a level that it just snaps. So it's certainly not as easy to break as styrene or something you see in a model kit or whatever. If you got any of the Kickstarter 3 stuff, any of the Templar, newer Templar and Malvern stuff, it's very similar to that in the way that it'll break. It's got a little bit of give to it, enough to keep it, you know, so you don't have to be super careful with them, but there is a point that you can go too far and it'll break. That it's a plasticide. Officially, it's a thermoplastic resin. So if you go and look up thermoplastic resin, that'll kind of give you an idea of some of its properties. And that's why we call it dual cast, because it's really the best of both worlds. We get the detail and the stability that you would see in resin, but you get a little bit of give and the durability of plastic. So good stuff. Now, as a blatant commercial throwout, starting at midnight tonight through midnight of Monday is our Black Friday sale. We are first time we've ever done a sale. This is a weird year, so that's part of it we're going to do. So everything on the store is 20% off. So if you've been thinking about getting in the game, normally we sell the rule book for $40 and you get your first squad for free. Well, now you can get it for $32. That'll get you the full hardcover rule book and lets you pick out your first squad of any of the 7 factions. So basically you're getting $60 worth of stuff for $32. And with every order, we will throw a random new miniature out of the new dual cast material into your order. So that's going to be good through Wednesday through Monday. So spread the word. Let us have a good Black Friday. Get us off to a good something to look forward for next year. Well, and you know, and that's, you know, we've done 3 Kickstarters. We're not going to do any more of the big ones like we've done in the past. We will probably come in and do some smaller, more specific Kickstarters for some vanity projects, some cool things that really probably wouldn't stand on their own, as far as if we just release it as a product and count on it to grow into something. But like I said, the average price for a mini, it runs about $6. So it doesn't take you very much to get into the game. And like I said, our rule book, our combo deal, comes with a squad of 4 minis. They're in the game what we call a special squad, which is kind of a catch-all. It allows you to mix different models or different roles together that you might not normally get. They're all balanced out. About 2,500 threat value points is about where they're at. So, if you got a friend, we tell people all the time, the best way to get in the game is one of you buy the book, get the starter squad, and then the other one buys, looks at what a starter squad is and picks those 4 out and gets the other starter squad. And then you're ready to go right off the bat. So throw some terrain down. There's a couple of learn to play videos out there. I'm trying to do better ones. We're just kind of now getting our feet dipped into the whole media and video and everything like that. So we're learning that as we go, and so those things will get better. But some other people have done some stuff out there, and they're not always 100% exactly right on some things, but you're good to go there. And if you're still looking for just to try out the game, we have a set of quick start rules that you can download for free. So no squad boxes in the store. No, we don't have any pre-set up squads in a box. Stores are able to buy the squads and do the same deal that we do on our deal. We have a few stores scattered around the country that do that. But because of the fact that not everybody wants to play these guys or whatever, it's sometimes hard for them to have everybody in stock, especially with us being a smaller game and smaller game company. So if you have a local store, you want to talk them into ordering, they can contact us direct. We sell direct to stores. We can set them up with some squads. Or like I said, you can go onto our website and partake in the magic that is our Black Friday sale. I always love it when I find rocks that get totally glued down. Oh well, a little paint. That right. Paint's a great glue. You get enough of it on there. Anybody that's coming in late, I am still working on desert terrain. This is all going to be part of our traveling board next year for conventions, if we start having conventions again. We will also be doing some photography with these pieces for some upcoming projects. So the next few weeks are going to be lots and lots of desert terrain of different types to get to follow along with us. Some of this is some older stuff that I'm repurposing and bringing back, doing a more modern look to it, as far as from when it was originally made way back when to where I'm at now. I'm a much better terrain builder. So we're kind of modernizing some of this, and then also just so that it fits into the overall look. Because a lot of this stuff was originally done with grass, painted grass and stuff like that. And we're moving everything back to doing with sand to give it a more desert look. Mayor Dude, subscribe. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. While it's certainly not necessary, we do this channel just so that I can hang out with you guys no matter what. But hey, least it shows that you care. In case you missed James last night on his feed, it should be up on the Twitch so you can go back and watch it. I believe that he showed off some of the new Dualcast minis. So I meant to bring a couple up here tonight to show off as well, and forgot. He does. Yeah, there's the new Despot B, the Cobra, and the Useki 2. And those are the ones that we have in stock right now that we are throwing into orders. So any order that is part between Wednesday and Monday will receive one of the new minis for free in their order. Yes. Yeah, like I said, because they all use the same um, design philosophy. There's not a separate system for tanks, and tanks have things that they do better. Cavs have things they do better. Infantry, everybody has what they do better. But as far as a 6 DT tank, armor wise, so forth, is pretty much the equivalent of a 6 DT Cav. Obviously, some of the other stuff, infantry doesn't necessarily always going to survive so well against a tank. It's one of the examples I always try to when people ask me at conventions and stuff like that. Imagine, and this is one of the hardest things for BattleTech players when they try out the game at a show or something like that, because they get a small guy, one of the recons or whatever, and they're used to playing locusts and wasps and things like that, and they run out there and because it's BattleTech is, like I said, a game of sandpaper where you're just kind of grinding down the armor until you get into the guts. Those little guys can get out there and run around in the middle of the big guys and have the ability to survive a little bit, especially if you got somebody that's rolling all around the charts. That doesn't work in Cav. If you walk out in front of a great big bad Cav with a little Cav and he doesn't have somebody better that he needs to shoot at, you are getting ready to have a Volkswagen pushed through the inside of your chassis. So just like in real combat, if you can really say that for these games, if you get in a Hummer with a 50 cal and you drive out in the middle of the battlefield and you see a T-80 tank coming and you decide to stay there and take him on, there's probably the 0.1% chance that you get around through sight block or something and it bounces around and kills everybody, but chances are that T-80 is going to line up with you and your Hummer is going to disappear. So that is something that I always try to explain to people. You take one little guy and you think he's going to do what he's supposed to do for you, and you don't have anybody else as a backup. You run out on the board. You don't try to support him. You don't keep him moving. They're going to kill him, and you're going to be without the guy. So, the trick with little guys is to have ones that back up. Make sure if they do come out that there's more important things that they need to shoot at rather than him. And lots of little guys working together can take out a big guy. So there is a quality and quantity. But I've had several BattleTech players at shows rail at me. Oh, you know, they take the little con or whatever and they run out in the battlefield, and you know, 2 turns later they're dead. You know, because Cav's a deadly game. It's designed to kill stuff fast so that we can put more stuff out there on the board. Um, you know, and they were going to go out there and run around and thinking they were going to get back shots or whatnot, and it just didn't work out. And then it's all the game's fault. It's all my fault because they can't play Cav like they play BattleTech. So I always find that rather humorous. So there's a big difference between the two games right there. Lots and lots of little rocks. I know, Gimli. I know you want me to put a whole bunch in there. So all you got to do is make a bunch of orders. Well, because most of your light calves act as recon models um, in the game. The thing that you want to do in cav, there's the 3 things that are the best 3 things for you to do is move, shoot, and do target locks. Okay, target locks allow you to use guided missiles. Allows you, if you have a targeting computer, to add that to your deal or whatever. But every cav only has 2 actions. So if 3 is the prime, you know, it's hard to do that. So lots of your little guys have an SA called EST. And what that is, it's electronic source targeting. They have the ability to be part of your squad. They can go do a target lock and transfer that target lock to other cavs. So they have the ability to do that. They are fast, they're speedy. If you need to get down to the end of the board quick, if you want to get in the middle of somebody's fire support that doesn't have anybody back there protecting him, the little guys are going to take out the missile boats. And like I said, and you run several of them together, you can get a bunch of them out there. You have to build squads in the game, and sometimes you have to build a certain squad before you can buy this other type of squad. So lots of times you can take lots of little ones and build a smaller squad so that you can build more squads. That's a way to kind of try to control the deck. You know, because we use cards for activation. So, you know, if you have more squads, you have more cards in the deck. So there's lots of different strategies that different combinations of calves can come into. And I'm sure as we go along that we probably will give other little light guys other little roles to do, little thingies they can get into. We don't want the game to be static. We don't all want to playing the very same game in 10 years. Hopefully not. And how are you, Brother James? If we're going to preach, let's preach, man. Hallelujah, brother. Well, thanks for coming by. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am. You know, it's funny that shake this stuff and you throw it around and nothing else comes off of it, and then you touch one little rock with a paintbrush, and voila, there it is loose. Amazing how that happens. If you're coming in late, again, I'm working on desert terrain for our traveling board for con season next year, hopefully. So the next few weeks, you're going to see lots of desert themed pieces. Lots of different things. So you'll see a little bit of hill building, tree, rough buildings, all kinds of good stuff. It will have a noticeable Egyptian desert theme, which once we get the flashpoint out will make more sense as to why it is. If you ever played any of the from Cav 1 in one of the casket works, there was a Witches Reapers magazine that they used to do, catalog / magazine. There was some stuff in there written for Assault on New Memphis, and that has kind of formed the basis of this new Flashpoint. If you have access to that or remember that, you'll kind of have an understanding of why we're doing. A mix of old and new. Okay. You want to make sure that when you are painting sand and little rocks to use a junk brush. This stuff tears brushes up. All right, more questions. I'm going to start singing. Or just random thoughts. Just as long as we're not talking religion or politics, go for it. Spaceships. No, let's not talk spaceships. There, why does that always seem to come up? There are the navies of the different factions and so forth. There's pirates. There's everything like that. We're going to have we've got a campaign book in place, and it'll have kind of a bridge system for doing planetary assaults and going through blockading forces and stuff like that. But as far as doing an actual ship miniatures and a ship to ship game or whatever, we probably won't go down that path. Spaceship games have a very limited life, in my opinion. You can only fly the ships around so many times and shoot each other in the blackness of space and dodge a planet or an asteroid. To me, it just gets boring. Now, we are planning on doing at least one, if not more. We'll see how the first one does. A scale drop ship, and that you'll be able to use as far as make a part of a board or a game or whatever. We're still trying to figure out the best way to do it. I think we're getting close. And each week I say next week we'll have more information about it. I think we're getting closer. So maybe next week will be where we can finally show people the direction we're going. I wish that I thought that we could sell enough of them to make it worth running them through a Kickstarter, so that we could have them produced in plastic and everything like that. But I figure that we'll need to sell about 1,000 of them to make that really work. And I don't I don't know that we're in a position that'll happen. That we would be able to do 1,000. All right, time to renew our paint. Great thing about acrylic, as the water evaporates out of them, our paint dries. Little. We are right in Kansas, right outside of Wichita. If you're familiar with that area at all. If not, you can look on the map and find us. We're in a little side town called El Dorado, right outside Wichita. Sure have on me. I love these. I get these cups at Sherwin-Williams that I use for putting paint and everything. Whatever kind of plastic it is, paint just won't stick to it once it's, so it's very easy to peel the paint out of them after they dry a little stuff. So every once in a while I have to go back in and kind of clean them up a little. Pretty close to. And where do you live, Mid Tiger? Minnesota. Cool. Yeah, that's the best thing with our new dual cast is, I mean, we're going to be 100% made in the USA. So that's a big plus with going with it too. So we are very, very excited. Can't wait to do more and more with it. Like I said, even if you're an old hand and you don't have anything new you need to add to your collection or whatever, just help us get the word out there. Let everybody know about our Black Friday sale. People that your friends maybe that have been kind of on the fence and haven't decided to go in or yet or whatever. They said they can get into it this week for as cheap as they're going to get into it. They're going to be able to get a book and minis and be ready to go. And then don't forget, if you got somebody that's buy anything or whatever, they can always download the will you keep to just Cav, or is there thoughts of a shoot games? I'm assuming, are you asking about other games? Yes. Yeah, we are. We've looked at doing a couple of other things. It's, at this point in the game industry, there's pretty much everything's been done. If it hasn't been done, it's just because it's such a fringe game that, nobody wants to do stuff for 5 people. Yeah, God forbid I had to paint and type at the same time. I'd be in big trouble. Um, so, you know, it's hard to try to say, okay, let's go do this because I think we can do it better or whatnot. I definitely think you'll see some other mini lines that we plan on doing um, that would be more in support of games that are already out there. Um, I think that, by the way, if you hear a noise in the background, apparently we've got a rainstorm going. Um, and Kansas wind time of the year, so really gets it blowing. Uh, I would love to do 15 millimeter tank game, some kind of a sci-fi, kind of a hammer slammers kind of thing. We've talked a little bit about that. We've thought about doing a World War II game based around the Cav mechanics. We've got people asking us to do a role-playing game of Cav. Of course, a lot of it's still Cav related, but yeah, we're looking at if we find the right project. But we've got so much still to do with Cav. Um, you know, that's going to keep us busy for a while. Plus, I don't think my wife is ready for me to go off and do another. Yeah, I think just a game based on tanks would be a lot of fun, and at 15 millimeter, I think that would be a really cool scale. Uh, and keep it being a little smaller in scope as far as each side doesn't need 30 tanks out there. That's the bad thing with if you've played Team Yankee or anything like that. Some of those scaled games is they try to bring in lots of models, and at that scale it just kind of turns into a parking lot, and that's no fun. That's what I like about 10 millimeter. It's right there in the middle. It's small enough you can put a lot of stuff on the board, but it doesn't get so small that I need a magnifying glass. Enjoy it. It's fun, to play where it's 10 millimeter. As to how that breaks out in scale, you'll get different opinions, um, depending on what you use as your criteria for uh, how tall a person is or whatnot. Uh, the nice thing about 10 millimeter, at least for infantry figures and stuff like that, generally, when you see a millimeter scale like that, it's measured from bottom of foot to eye level. So all our infantry measure 10 millimeter from bottom of foot to eye level. So that makes them about 12 millimeters overall in height. And I use a 6 foot tall guy, and as my base, and that works out pretty close to 180th. So that's what we use for our scale. You've got people out there that'll tell you that it's 144, 1 in 150, 1 in 160, 1 in 170. I felt like we were close enough to go with 180 because it works out really good with terrain and your boards, because at 1/180th, 1 inch equals 15 feet. So it's just a good scale, good size. Whether we're exactly like everybody else, I couldn't tell you. I know Drop Zone Commander, I think, went with 1 and 160, but I think when we put our stuff next to theirs, sometimes their stuff looks small. But that may just be the I don't know enough about the game universe to know if that's smaller things, but I know that we sell or for a while we have a little bit left. Um, some TT Combat stuff, uh, and a lot of their stuff was made for Drop Zone Commander, terrain wise, and so I know when you drop that in next to our stuff, it looks perfect. So I think we're pretty close. Planetfall, yeah, that was some great miniatures out there. I've seen some of our stuff next to it, and it looks pretty good. Well, and I do too. I mean, it sometimes it's a little too small to get to do some things that I would like to do. Um, and you have to kind of, it's like with this sand. I mean, it's hard to get sand to look right at 10 millimeter scale because it's just so small you wouldn't even see the grain. So you have to kind of take some of the good with the bad when it comes to building things, but um, especially when you're building cities and things like that, it's a great down the road if we do some kind of a 28 millimeter skirmish infantry game or something for Cav or whatever, then it'll allow some some really crazy stuff. Why I get so picky about getting into all the little deals. I'm going to put a nice dark wash on top of this. Done paint. Going to go all in nooks and crannies anyway. My OCD. Well, we've done our dictator. We've done it in the bigger 28, 32 millimeter scale that we have as a resin kit. So it would be cool to do some infantry and stuff that would go around. One of our sculptors, Chris Lewis, he does a feed on our channel on Saturdays at 2 o'clock Central Time, and he's working on a lot of 28, 32 millimeter scale infantry figures. Right? Kind of a project of his, and he's wanted to work on it some more. So get a chance, check out some of the old ones or tune in this Saturday. I think he's going to be working on some more again. Very, very cool stuff. But at some point, we will have some of that stuff out for every faction. So I don't know if we're going to do a set of game rules for it, but there's enough. We'll do enough figures that with some of the other game rules that are out there, you'll be able to play some Cav battles if we don't do rules. That's moving on. Campaign in there. How are we doing on time tonight? Oh, we're almost done with our first hour. Now, and this is probably a good time to announce it. Starting next week, we are moving until 8 o'clock instead of 6 o'clock. And we'll do at least an hour. If we're in the middle of something, we want to keep going, we'll go a little further. We have a lot of people that have emailed me and just tell me 6 o'clock's too early for them, especially as you get more onto the West Coast and everything. Since we do all of our other week shows at 8 o'clock, we just decided to move them down at 8 o'clock. So I'll put up some announcements on it as well, but starting next week, our Tuesday show will be at 8 o'clock. Well, and I've got that too, because East Coast people at 7 o'clock and they're eating dinner, or like you're eating dinner. So we're going to try moving it down a little bit and see if that's not a little more conducive for people's schedules. And part of it too, 6 o'clock is just, that's kind of our end of day around here. So, anything that's last minute that I need to take care of with folks here at the shop or something like that, it gets kind of rushed, me trying to get up here and get ready for the show, and that'll help me get a little better organized in the day if I'm not trying to hit right quitting time for. All right. All these pieces now with their base brown now for now. We'll let that dry for a little bit. One of my boys, I've got 2 sons in college right now, and one of them is studying to do computer game design. And he's got to have a project coming up pretty soon to make a game. And I think he's going to kind of do a kind of a Cav versus Cav kind of a little racing game. Exactly how in depth that it'll be, but it'll be something that we can run here on the Twitch feed or something like that, where you get to pick which one you want to do, and we give away some prizes and stuff like that. Kind of like the marbles game, just with calves, maybe, if you know what the marble game is. All right. So while those are drying, let's talk a little bit about some of the other things that we're working on for our board. Like I said, some of this I did some way back, so that I'm repurposing it a little bit. One of the pieces I've got, and this is going to be really big, so I don't know. Might be easier to see in this one, but this was a big hill that I did, and it's got an inside mech bay in it, and it got done a few years back, and I didn't get as much done with it as I wanted to, so I didn't get the insides done. So in the purpose, I'm going to go back and this has got the grass, kind of a brown grass material on it. So I'm going to go back and get this with the sand that we're using for all this. But what it does, you can kind of see the floor pattern and stuff in there. Voila. So I want to get that done. It's got a little door entrance here, you can see, that goes into it. So my plan is to redo the hill stuff and start building the bay better, kind of get that done. And what it had that sit on top of it was this pyramid. And once you read more and we start showing the flashpoint, it'll make sense as to what this was. So you can see it here, and like I said, it just set over the top of that, and that was just kind of a thing that they built. When I made this, I kind of fell back to some of my fantasy days, and so it has much more of a fantasy type pyramid look to it as opposed to being out in the future. Which, I mean, you can, if they're trying to build a pyramid, they can stay true to the old ones or whatever. But I'm a much better train builder these days. So I want to go back and I want to redo this for the top and maybe do a couple of others for different scenarios or what. One of the other problems is scale. The scale that I cut these bricks, the stones for it would be way too much. They're probably, I'd have to go and check the actual, how the blocks are in actual pyramids, but at a 1/2 inch, that puts these at about 8 foot tall. I don't think that they're that tall in real pyramids. So I want to go back to and fix that and do better corners and everything. I just think I can do a lot better job. But this will go on top of that big hill. This is the piece that covers that. So during the game, you can take this off and stuff can happen in there too. Because I tried it with some of the scenarios. I try to put a little role playing element into it, just a little bit of a story. So so these are going to be, this is going to be redone. Another piece that I had done back in the past for it was this kind of the statue park. There's some different things like so this is this was kind of a like a park, that it was really cool for the calves to run around here and stuff like that. So and it's designed to be bigger and stuff like that. So I like all of it. I'm not as wild about the base, the bottom. I'd like this to be a little more irregular. I think it's a little too square when it sits on the board, since you can see the edges. So it's I'd either want to go back and just be a truly square so it sits on the board, or get the sand, redo this. The statues are actually Reaper miniatures that I've got and painted them up like statues and stuff. I love using, you can go to Home Depot or whatever and buy those, go over the tile, and they have all the little sheets for the accents and stuff like that. So all these little squares and these top pieces here, these are all just from tile from Home Depot. The pillars that you see here are actually, they're wooden. You can get them over at Michael's and Hobby Lobby and stuff like that, and little wood plugs. So, once it all painted up, I really like the look of it. But it's another piece that needs to be updated. So you can see the original tile here. But it's just a quick spray paint in one color and dry brushing on them. So you get a real easy, cool stone look to it. So I'll probably, like I said, I'll probably rip all this off, come back and redo the floor. These are actually vinyl floor tiles. You know, you peel off the back or whatever. So I took them and cut them into those sizes and then glued each one on there. May go a little smaller with those so that it goes better with 10mm scale. Again, I think I kind of fell back to my RPG days, kind of getting my stuff out of scale. So that's a piece that you'll see us. We're going to update. Then we have our trees, and these are they're palm trees that I picked up, I don't know, a long time ago on eBay or something like that. They're just little plastic things like that but again, I used this grass material back when I made these. So I need to update these to match up with our sand, other stuff that we're making for the board. Also, I didn't get these as irregular shaped as I wanted to. And my plan going forward with my woods is I want to have a base, and then the trees will be separate and be, you know, on little circles or whatever. You know, then I can set those on top of the piece so that the outside of it defines the area that it takes. But by placing different trees, we can make it light, heavy, or you can move them as you are they're in your way. I always hate that plan. You need to set your figure somewhere and there's always a tree in the way. So these all need to be pulled out. These square ones, I'll cut the edges so that they have a little more irregular shape, kind of something kind of more like this. I just think that a more irregular shape looks better. Doesn't look as static. So I'm going to say I got to pull all the trees out. These are all just were hot wire or hot glue holes after I drilled holes. So, and this is just MDF board. So you have to get all these pulled out. You know, like I said, I want to come back with, you know, some circles or whatever, and then build, you know, like a 1-inch or an 1.5-inch circle with, you know, trees kind of set like that. That way you can just set these on the deal and you can move them around. And I think that'll help with the look and make them a lot easier to use during a game. But like these here, like I said, I'll recut these and sand them back down and then sand over them. Put glue the sand on them and paint them so that they match up our other. I think when I got I can't remember if there were 2 sizes or 3 sizes that came with them. So they're great for have one cav here to set next to it to give you an idea. But normally I have a couple of calves at the table, but they look really good compared to your calves. I think when I got these, because they have them bigger, or did, I forget the company of at the time. They're made in China. They were selling them. I think it's a hobby store actually up out of Minnesota or Michigan or up there somewhere like that. I want to say it was like Michigan Toy Soldiers. But anyway, but I went and checked what the average height on palm trees or whatever. So these scaled really good to the 10mm. Anyway, so we'll get all those. we'll get all those pulled out. Got lots of them that need to be done. So, well, that'll be upcoming. And like I said, it's just switching a lot of things over to some of the older stuff to the new look that I want. And then after we get a little further in, we'll start setting the board up, and you'll start seeing more of the, as we go from there, how it's kind of coming together. All right. This one, I think we're ready to go back and do a wash on our pieces here. So much work putting all those together, and now I'm tearing it all apart. Remodeling. All right. So, okay. Now, one of the things that some of you may have heard, I have found the magic that is stain. You know, especially when you're doing terrain, you need lots of washes. And if you go out and buy Army Painter wash or whatever, that stuff's high dollar. You can mix it up your own, but then you got to go through all that. So what I have found is Minwax does wood stain bases, and they are water based. And you can get them, they have 200 colors that you can mix. This is American walnut, so this is kind of a very dark brown. It is pretty potent right out of the can, so you want to be careful if you're not wanting to get too dark to mix it with a little bit of water. But I think I paid $8 for this can, and have used it on a billion things, and it's just, I'll never go back. It's just a great wash. I want to play with it and work with the consistencies a little bit. You know, I think I can even get it into where it'll work like a dip. You just want to fast wash something. But as you'll see here, go in here and go straight with it. Very dark. But for this, that's what I want. So, so that's no biggie. Here and toss a little, spread out. Just, I will never go back. This good stuff. Pigment strong in it. Now, because I had already painted this sand and stuff, I'm just putting the wash on the rock. Some of this stuff like this that was built from scratch and it hadn't all been done with that, the whole thing's going to be washed on it. So very thick. But this will get it ready for me to start. I'll come back and put a mid-tone on it after it's good and dry, and then put my light tone on it. Put a little shrubbery. But that's like this piece here that we did. Like here, you can see after how it dries, it really goes down into the creases and gives you your darks. See if we can some of the big stuff here. Drive. It's not been. This is straight out of the can, so you get a little bit. Now I am every once in a while I'll duck my brush into the water up here, just to put a little bit of water in it. But even straight, if you're washing on something dark, it'll work fine or it dries. If you're putting it on something light or whatever, especially if it's got a little grain that'll let it soak up, it'll paint almost like dark brown. So you want to make sure you test it on something. But like I said, even straight out of the can, spread it out a little bit. It'll after it dries, see the differences in it. I brought one more size brush, just a bigger. But as far as what's in the can, I haven't put any water in the can. What you see is what you get. And the funny thing about this stain too is you'll get 2 or 3 different colors that you saw the color samples of, and one was dark and one was medium, one was light, and you open up the cans and they all look the same. Don't worry about that. That's just the nature of what it is. When you actually use it and the water evaporates out of it, you'll see the different tones. But I got some black ebony that they call it. They also have like a weathered gray, and I've been using those probably. I don't know if it was maybe 50-50 water and stain. And actually using it on my minis makes it great if you're needing to wash those down. So I haven't done any with the brown yet, but it should work. But the weathered gray is great for white. Do a white mini and you want a really cool wash on it. And then ebony is just black. So but they've got green and reds and blues and kinds of cool. I got some that I think it's called Spice, kind of a reddish brown, that I want to try on some orange with some oranges. And All right. There. Like I said, I'd already done this, so I don't want to rewash yet. Pieces I'm building from scratch. They get the whole Monty. All right, and the ones we worked on tonight. Sorry, I keep falling out of camera here. Get where I'm at. Well, I try to zoom in as much as possible so you can see what I'm doing, and naturally that really cuts down on the surface. See, and but my hope is I want to get these ready and done. I want to build some bigger hills too for some extra elevation levels. These are really low humps. I'll probably build some pieces that is more clear that they can sit on. And these will be more tops. All right, looks like we got about 30 minutes. So anything else anybody would like me to try to cover tonight? Just about time for Taco Tuesday into effect. The good thing about the brush or the wash is it will spray directly out of the can with your airbrush. It is the perfect consistency to spray in your airbrush. So back with some of the earlier pieces that we did afterwards, I kind of came back and used the airbrush to put in some variations and stuff like that. Um, I'll show those when I get those more done. Great. Like I said, this stuff airbrush is perfect. Just makes really good subdued shading for those that airbrush. After I got everything done, uh, the brush put on and whatnot, like I said, I just come back with the airbrush and just found some areas around some of this to fade into the stuff around it. This was dead on. No extra mixing or anything. It's like an eyedropper. Oh no, no, no. No, this stuff is stain has such a fine pigment grind in it. And with this already being pre-mixed, um, it is you can pretty much just spray forever. So very, very good for shading. I just automatically every once in a while put a little thinner in my cup and blow it through there just out of habit, but I've never had this stuff clog up. And normally I spray around 20 pounds of pressure. Because I don't have a problem with this clogging up, you can really turn your pressure down and spray it 10-ish, and really, if you really are just trying to get really subtle shading that you want to build up, it just works perfect. But that way, see, I get the little bit of the reds are coming through as the stuff dries. Um, but once I come back in and wash the middle and the light on it, it really can pop out. All right, that one almost are getting done. And I would say if you're going to cut this down with water, if you want it a little bit not as dark, 50-50 would be as far as I would go. I would even be more 70 paint, 30 water. I use a special thinner that I make with uh, uh well, yeah, it'll improve the flow of it, but you really don't. I've said for airbrushing, you don't need it because you can control how much you spray out at the time. But like I said, if you want more of the base color to show by watering it down a little bit, I use kind of my own special mix that I keep meaning to put up on the page. I talk about it for when I airbrush and stuff, but it's distilled water. Um, it's got a little bit of 99 alcohol in it. It's got a little bit of kind of clear or something like that. It's got a little bit of glycerin in it. Uh, it's great for mixing when you're airbrushing, but it's also great to mix in for a wash. It really causes the pigments to settle into the lines more and not so much on the top. And I've got the mix. I need to see if I can find it. I'll put it for everybody. But it's all stuff you can buy. I get it at Walmart and mix it myself, a couple of gallons at a time, and hell, it lasts me forever. But it works really good to cut down normal acrylic paint without making them be so phobic, hydrophobic. But by mixing it, thinning it down a little bit, again, you want more of the color that you've already used to show through and just kind of keep the darkers more into the crevices and stuff by cutting it down a little bit. That helps not stay as up on the top as much. Me, I don't want too much of that red brown coming through because I'm really trying to keep this into, you know, tans and yellows and stuff like that, so it has more of a desert look to it. And to me, the red is more of a Badlands type color. Mars. So by using this, it kind of pulls that reddish out of it, gives it a better base. Come back with my. All right. I'm happy with that. It's and like I said, I'll try to remember it tomorrow. Mid Tiger. I don't know if you Facebook at all. If you don't see me put it up, remind me tomorrow, and I'll try to remember it. It's I'm originally a graphic artist by trade, and back when I went to school, we didn't have all these newfangled computers to do all this, so we still had to airbrush quite a bit when we were working on things. So it's just stuff that I've made forever that I like to use through my airbrush with acrylic paint. We actually, back then, we did a lot more with what they call gouache paint, which is basically tempera paint made with egg yolks. Um, It's real easy to mix stuff with and to airbrush it and get good solid color out of it. It's just not as permanent as an acrylic or whatever. You have to make sure you seal it. So, you know, it is all right for, you know, when you're doing 2D art and stuff like that and spray over. I ever tried to paint a mini with it. How well that this mix works for that too. I never was big on trying to use any kind of enamel based, oil based stuff through my airbrush because it's such a pain in the ass. At least with water stuff, I can just spray there, and if I forget something, nothing that a little soaking in a little alcohol bath. Whoa, throw the paintbrush across. All right, well, I think that's a good stopping point for tonight. That's all got to dry before I can go back and start dry brushing on it. With my glass. But this will have, this will come back. This will have kind of a more of a mid-tone yellow orange in it, and then I'll go back with this real light color on top of it to kind of blend it in. I don't have one of the finished pieces to show you how. Stairs, actually. But I'll have them next week where you can see more of this because there's just so much to do. I'll start cutting all the pieces up and work on one or two of them each show so you can get kind of a highlight of what it's going to. I'll get the stuff cut out for the pyramid. I may do more than one. I can't make up my mind if I want to do more of a stay with kind of an ancient look or go with more of a sci-fi version of one. I don't know. We'll see. I've got 2 or 3 ideas in mind for it. Maybe I'll put some drawings up on the Facebook page or people can tell me which one they like the most. So anyway, before I call it a night, anything else anybody wants me to cover, talk about? You know, if you keep me talking, I'll stay on here all night. Hopefully we will have we're working on having some channel specific emotes and things like that. I got started on them and as always and got off on another project. So hopefully I'll get those done. Get those loaded up, give you something to spend some of your channel points on. Who would keep you from that? Well, we have tacos every Tuesday. So we have my younger boy was the Lego movie. That was his favorite movie. We've had Taco Tuesday ever since. Now he's 18 years old and they'll do Taco Tuesday. So anyway, so if nobody else has anything else that they want me to cover tonight, I believe that we will call it a night. Again, shameless plug, our sale starts tonight at midnight, goes through Monday. Let everybody know, spread the word. Lots of great deals. There's paint, there's all kinds of stuff on. We carry the full line of Reaper Bones paints. So you know, they're already, we sell them cheaper than they do, and now 20% off. The last little bit of TT Combat Terrain is still on there. We discounted that at 50% already. So another 20% off of that. So basically you're getting 70% off on what TT Combat stuff is left. We're trying to finish getting rid of that because we're moving over to our very own MDF line, Cav Inspired line. I just got to finish getting this stuff out of my way so I have room to put it. Then tomorrow night, James and I will be back at 8 o'clock doing our little 1 hour show. And you never know who may show up with that too, that we'll talk about. Maybe one of our painters. Chris Lewis, our sculptor, is on Saturdays from 2 to 4, showing his latest CAV project that he's working on. So make sure you check that out. We all decided we'll keep with the schedule this week, since Thanksgiving's really not going to get in the way of that, and nobody's traveling, or shouldn't be. So we're stuck here where we're at. So other than that, that'll finish things up, and hopefully I will see you tomorrow night. So if I don't, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Be safe, and we'll see you around. Take care.